All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into deconstructing a single, seemingly simple photograph to uncover a, honestly, fascinating story about human nature. You know, we so often think of photographs as just capturing a subject, right? But I'd argue the best ones actually capture a state of mind. And today, we've got a truly brilliant example of that, because we are going to completely overanalyze the absolute life out of a single doodle.
Take a look at this. At first glance, it's just a casual snapshot of a hand, right? Like someone just got a little too bored with a pen. But as we break down the visual evidence in this frame together, we're going to see it's actually this really complex collision of two totally different worlds. So let's dive in and see what secrets this single, everyday frame actually holds.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the human canvas, a forensic breakdown.
Now look closely at the specific catalog of artistic elements we've got going on here, because this definitely isn't just some random scribble. Look at that spontaneous use of bright pink and orange ballpoint ink. The artist, and yeah, I think we can confidently call them an artist, has created these flowing organic shapes that trace right over the natural creases of their skin. You've got a fully shaded pink index fingertip, this incredibly intricate floral design blooming right out of the center of the palm, and delicate pink vines trailing down toward the wrist where the color suddenly shifts to this warm orange abstract floral pattern. Let's be real, it requires a surprising amount of dedication and maybe a tiny bit of obsession to get that much ink onto your skin. All right, looking back at the image, I want you to focus your eyes strictly on the foreground. Observe how these fluid, creative expressions just completely dominate the frame. The ballpoint ink actually catches the light, settling deep into the fingerprints and the lifelines of the palm. It's almost like a giant puzzle. And honestly, this level of detail suggests a mind that has wandered far, far away from its current task. This isn't just some quick 5-second distraction, you know? This is a sustained, meditative escape. But an escape from what, exactly?
Which brings us right to Section 2, the science in the background, the avoided task.
Okay, let's move past the palm for a second. Direct your attention to the top right corner of the frame. Just barely visible behind the thumb, tucked away on this stark white, almost clinical background, is a bright yellow-green sticky note. It's a tiny, easily missed detail, but it entirely flips the context of our investigation. It instantly shifts the setting from some ambiguous, daydreamy space into a highly specific place of study. And look at what's actually scribbled on there. You can clearly read the handwritten list: atmosphere, troposphere, Earth, climate change, and then there's this acronym, TSMIE. These are heavy, monumental words, right? They physically anchor our doodler in a super-structured, rigid academic setting, focused heavily on Earth sciences and global systems. We are quite literally looking at the remnants of a serious study session. And that right there perfectly illustrates our main theme, the clash. We have this stark visual and thematic contrast happening right here in one single photograph. On one hand, literally, you have the rigid scientific demands of studying the layers of the troposphere and the heavy reality of climate change, but on the other, you have this fluid, undeniably human urge to create spontaneous, vibrant floral art. The structured academic world is pushed to the distant, blurry background, while the colorful, slightly absurd distraction takes absolute center stage and crisp focus.
Moving right along to Section 3, the timestamp mystery, a frozen moment.
So we've explored the art and we've explored the science, but there's one final, almost hidden detail in the bottom left corner that adds a completely new layer to our forensic breakdown. Every photograph freezes time, obviously, but usually we have to totally guess the timeline, right? Or we have to rely on metadata hidden deep in a file. We're left wondering, was this a late-night study session? An early morning lapse in focus? Well, here, the evidence is printed right in front of us. We just have to look closely at that faint white text tucked away at the bottom.
And there it is. This watermark explicitly stamps this moment of procrastination as happening precisely at 12:56 p.m. on June 8th, 2026. Oh, and it even has a little text emoticon right next to it? I mean, that is just unbelievably specific. Midday, right after lunch, basically the most notorious time of day for a wandering mind when you're stuck in the middle of a study block. This tiny string of text elevates the whole image. It captures this precise, beautifully mundane instance of human distraction just a day prior to our explainer today.
So, when we synthesize it all, the foreground, the background, the watermark, it's no longer just a messy hand. It's an incredibly relatable, perfectly timestamped documentary of a student who, at exactly 12:56 p.m., was definitely supposed to be studying the Earth's atmosphere, but completely caved to their own boredom instead, choosing colorful creativity, and literally transforming their skin into a masterpiece of procrastination.
It really makes you stop and think about how we spend our attention, doesn't it? I want to leave you with this provocative thought as you look at your own notebooks, your own desks, or even your own hands today. What stories are your distractions telling? Are they simply pulling you away from your work, or are they honestly expressing something your structured life just isn't giving you room for? Think about it. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep your eyes open for those hidden stories and never stop learning. Catch you next time.